Robert Hayes is one of the central figures in the techno-thriller Daemon Protocol by J.L. Spears. His journey from loss to discovery sparks a breakthrough technology that could change the future of medicine. This is his story. Hi, I'm Veronica Thames, one of the audiobook narrators for Daemon Protocol. The novel is also available in hardcover, paperback, or ebook, wherever fine books are sold. Join me as we learn a bit more about Robert and discover the factors that contribute to the person he is within the novel, Daemon Protocol. Robert Hayes had always been the kind of person others admired. His sharp mind and compassionate spirit made him a fixture in his community. As a teenager, he poured his energy into volunteer work, organizing blood drives, teaching CPR classes, and spending afternoons at local nursing homes. For Robert, these visits weren't obligations. They were opportunities to connect with people in meaningful ways. He loved hearing the stories of residents who often felt forgotten, brightening their days with small gifts or his warm smile. "You're going to be an incredible doctor someday," Mrs. Turner, one of the residents, once told him. Her words stayed with him, as did the way her eyes sparkled when she said them. It came as no surprise to anyone when Robert was accepted into the University of Southern California to pursue pre-med. His family, friends, and teachers celebrated his achievement as though it were their own. But for Robert, the journey had only just begun. USC's pre-med program was grueling, but Robert thrived. His days were a blur of lectures, labs, and study sessions, yet he found time to volunteer at local clinics. By the end of his freshman year, he felt he was on track to fulfilling his dream. Then, in the fall of his sophomore year, everything unraveled. The phone call came late one night in October. Robert was in the library, poring over notes for an anatomy exam, when his father's name lit up his screen.
"Robert,"
his dad began, voice cracking.
"It's your mom. She's been diagnosed with glioblastoma."
Robert felt his breath leave him. Glioblastoma. The word buzzed in his mind like static.
"It's aggressive,"
his father continued.
"The doctors say she may not make it past spring."
The weeks that followed were a blur of hospital visits and endless questions. As a pre-med student, Robert was determined to understand his mother's condition. He sought out her oncologist, combed through research papers, and devoured any information he could find. Yet, the more he learned, the more helpless he felt. Glioblastoma was a relentless disease. By the time symptoms appeared, the cancer was often too advanced to treat. The idea that his mother's illness had been silently growing for months, or even years, gnawed at him. How had no one seen it? How could medical science, for all its advancements, be so blind to something so devastating? One evening, as he sat by her bedside, he asked,
"Why couldn't they catch it earlier?"
His mother's response was simple but profound. "Doctors do the best they can, sweetheart, but sometimes the answers aren't there yet. That's why people like you are so important." Those words became a turning point for Robert. Late one night, with her hand resting weakly in his, he whispered,
"I'll find a way, Mom. I promise. I'll figure out how to catch these things before it's too late."
She smiled faintly, her eyes filled with pride and sadness. "I know you will." She passed away 3 weeks later. After the funeral, Robert returned to USC a changed person. His grief was a heavy burden, but it also sharpened his focus. He immersed himself in his studies, not just in biology and chemistry, but in emerging fields like bioinformatics and data analysis. He began to see the potential of technology to revolutionize medicine, to reveal patterns and connections invisible to the human eye. By the time Robert graduated, he was determined to push the boundaries of what medicine could achieve. He pursued his residency in Silicon Valley, drawn by the region's innovative spirit. There, he sought out hospitals and research centers at the forefront of diagnostic technology. One of his mentors, Dr. Lin, introduced him to the idea of using artificial intelligence to analyze vast amounts of medical data.
The answers are often hidden in plain sight, Dr. Lin explained during one of their late-night conversations. AI can help us see what we've been missing. Robert's curiosity grew into obsession. He attended conferences, collaborated with computer scientists, and studied how machine learning was being used to detect anomalies in medical imaging. But he wanted to go further. It wasn't enough to diagnose diseases early. He wanted to predict them before symptoms even appeared. Robert's breakthrough came through a serendipitous connection. A family friend, a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley, introduced him to Dr. Anil Mehta, a professor at UC Berkeley. Dr. Mehta was leading a project on using AI to mine electronic health records for patterns that might indicate early signs of diseases. I've got the algorithms, Dr. Mehta told Robert during their first meeting, but I need someone who understands the medicine. I need someone like you.
Together, they launched a study to analyze correlations in routine lab results, slight changes in blood chemistry, subtle shifts in cell counts that might predict future health risks. It was grueling work, but Robert thrived on the challenge. Late nights in the lab reminded him of the promise he had made to his mother. After months of effort, their research culminated in a groundbreaking paper. They demonstrated how AI could identify warning signs of diseases like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes years before traditional diagnostic methods. The medical community took notice, and their findings were hailed as a major step forward in preventative medicine. The success of the study opened doors for Robert, but he remained grounded in his mission. He knew their work was just the beginning. He began collaborating with tech companies and medical institutions to refine the algorithms and make the technology accessible to clinics worldwide. Every time he saw a patient benefiting from early detection, he thought of his mother. He imagined a world where no one would have to endure the shock and helplessness he had felt that October night. Robert Hayes had become more than a physician or a researcher. He was a bridge between compassion and innovation, between the art of medicine and the science of technology. And though his mother wasn't there to see it, he carried her memory with him, a quiet but unshakable reminder of why he had chosen this path. In the shadows of her loss, he had found his purpose. You've just heard Robert's story, but it's only one of the many stories shared in the exciting techno-thriller Daemon Protocol by J.L. Spears. The novel is available in hardcover and paperback or as an audiobook or ebook, wherever books are sold. Thank you for listening.